Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Welcome to another video brought to you by Total Control Traders. Let's get right into it. First one, SPX. All right. So in our last video on, what's the 18th? Last Wednesday, we talked about how this zone must hold. Both SPX, NAS, they were at the similar zone that ideally bulls want to hold. So with SPX, essentially it held the zone. It never closed under. It closed at the top of the zone and bounced from 0.5. So the message is shared. It's been a while since we mentioned this. So for those of you that are maybe interested, we do have a Slack group going, and there's a 7-day trial ongoing right now. Check out totalcontroltraders.com and you will see the 7-day free trial available on there. So the message I shared with the group last Friday is, with all indices holding the respective must-hold zones and now seeing already trend change going back to the bulls, would anticipate new all-time highs on the horizon over the next week or two. So always give it extra time, and SPX actually saw new all-time high today. It was a V-shape, complete dip buying, 0.5 fib hold. The market on SPX specifically, since we're on the topic, is still very strong. Now what I'm anticipating from here, 120 extension target 44.90. we were nearly there today. We touched 44.89.8, so 0.2 points off. Today after hour, didn't reach it there yet, but 120 extension target, we were basically there today. From there, what we're expecting is a repeat of this last time. Last time I touched 121 extension target, closed at the high of day. Today we closed near the high of day, and we are a little bit, not a whole lot, just a little bit extended from the daily 8. Nothing to be real concerned of from a bull standpoint yet. There is a daily bear divergence forming. It is decreasing bull volume. So even if we were to get a bear day tomorrow, it'd be a touch on the daily 8 and slowly grind up. That's the anticipation going forward for this week and next week. So if you are in bulls, no reason to sell. If you are in bears, watch for tomorrow, see if there's follow through on the bearish action, rejection from the 121 extension target tomorrow. All right, next is NAS. So again, the website is totalcontroltraders.com, and you would just go under the subscription, or I can't remember what it's called. Anyways, you'll find the place. All right, next is NAS. So the last time we looked at NAS, we anticipated, forecasted a potential of breaking this trend line, followed by a back test, and then further bearish action. And I mentioned that you want to be prepared in the case that this does happen, which it did happen. But essentially, we did hold the key zone on NAS as well. Closed near that lower part of the key zone, bounced from the GP. This was an amazing bounce, and today we reached new all-time high, closed near the high of day, but we are at that trend line again. So tomorrow there is similar idea, potential of bearish action into touching that daily 8, revisiting the daily 8. Now tomorrow, if we're seeing a pullback, depending on where you draw it from, so if you're looking at 4 hours, I would anticipate a 4-hour higher low, which could potentially be the touch of the daily 8. But if we're looking at 4-hour higher low, so the last time we had 4-hour higher low was here in the zone before the real bounce came. Bull flag never actually formed a higher low. If you're drawing from the last higher low to the current high, 0.382 lines up right at that previous all-time high resistance zone. We can see multiple rejections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rejections in this zone. So revisiting of 15150 would make sense. GP is at the previous somewhat of a resistance support. If we're to look at it from this standpoint, 1500, 15,000, resistance, resistance, became support, support, support. Again, more support here, and it became resistance again. So somewhere around there, that would be near the GP. So that would still make sense. Even if we were to retouch that zone, the chart would still be relatively strong. Ideally, bulls want to see a touch of this 15150, and the chart would be extremely strong. Would anticipate if we're to see a revisit of this 15150 and chart turning bull again, I would anticipate further follow through, much further follow through on bullish action into this 1-to-1 extension target of 15475. Evening bull, no real concerns, no daily bear divergence versus SPX. Now keep in mind, SPX daily bear divergence could very well correct itself relatively quickly if the next 2-3 days were still bullish, making us extend it from the daily 8. That would negate the daily bear divergence the way it stands right now, because we're not seeing an immediate big rejection. So there's a chance that we can just completely negate the daily bear divergence right now. Right, so the next up is RUS. RUS, we held we lost it slightly, but we did hold the zone and we wicked just under the trend line. So we had to redraw this. I had to redraw this wedge. This was originally our outer wedge, and then there was the inner wedge, but because of the way that it's forming right now, there's 3 touches on this lower trend line. Had to redraw the outer wedge, and this could drag out. Now the way you're looking at it, this could drag out for a lot longer now. Instead of apex being in February 2022, the apex is now at July 2022. So a whole half a year difference. Regardless, we are still range bound in between these 2 key zones, and we held the bottom of the key zone. This was an amazing buy. TNA, if you were playing it, I think low was around 73. Let's check just to make sure. 70, was it only 74? Okay, so just above 73. The last time we dipped was 73. Anyways, nailed the entry on that TNA. It was low 74s, and this has been an amazing bounce so far. If you look at TNA alone, I think we're only off by like 30 cents on the entry. We'll call it, let's say that you bought Friday open or Friday low of day. 12% already on TNA. Amazing trade so far. From here, I did take profit already. On this, we are trading over the 88, and anticipation would be a revisit of this previous GP rejection for now. We're going to need to see further follow through tomorrow. We're just over the 88. There's no real confirmation, but there is bull confidence. We're going to need one more day in order to see that complete V shape. But if we were to have another full day bull run, would anticipate another rejection from this GP again. Current resistance looking up at 22.53 on RUS. Dow did not quite touch the trend line. Very slightly off. Doesn't happen often, but if you're looking at how the wick has formed, the last one, the one before, if you were to draw it to here, this one wouldn't have touched either. So it seems to be the trend that it comes close to the trend line and does not exactly touch. But regardless, let's remove all these arrows. Amazing dip buy so far. It has not reached new all-time high. Volume is decreasing. No divergences. Would still anticipate new all-time high to come unless NAS folds over or SPX folds over right now due to the daily bear divergence. So no real concerns. Let's take a look at US dollars. So slow grind up. It is showing a little bit of a red flag for the market. We did break over resistance and then immediate sell off. market bullish. Not seeing real spikes, so there's no real concern for the market from a standpoint of US dollar yet. But this is great because we are in majority US dollars. So even if you're in cash, your portfolio should have gone up. If you're in cash during the consolidation of the market over the last week, over last week, you should see an increase in your portfolio if you're in US dollars, Canadian based US dollars. Next is 10 years. Not sure why we drew it past the GP. Normally we draw to the GP. Anyway, so the last time we looked at this was US 10 years. It was on the August 6th. And anticipation was to a revisit of one of these two trend lines, and anticipated the upper trend line just because of the way it's bouncing is relatively strong, bull divergence. And then we did see a bounce to the upper trend line, which was in confluence with this key trend line. And we saw a rejection from there. Okay, so there is a little bit of spacing. I was going to say it's like right on point. No, there's a little bit. So it's a little bit off, but regardless, you get the idea. From here, rejection, GP, and now we're seeing a stall at GP. Direction-wise, due to the fact that we are rejecting from this confluence zone, confluence trend line, I would anticipate further bearish action to come. But the way it stands right now, there is no clear trade. I don't know too many people who trade US 10-year bond, but based on the US 10-year bond, no real concern for the market yet either. And gold bounce as anticipated. Let's see if it comes back. The anticipation from here would be, I'm seeing a trend line. So big bearish divergence here, or slight bearish divergence here, huge rejection. Today is going to be key on gold. If we were to reject from here, I would anticipate another revisit of this key support around 1676, 1677. And if that is the case, now for those of you that didn't watch the video where I talked about it, what I want to see now, because it is a repeat of pattern and it's already confirmed. If we were to look at the weekly, last time we played this, it panned out perfectly. So last time we played it was based on, I can't remember if it was this part of the chart or this part of the chart. It did bounce to that previous resistance, and this bounced near that previous resistance to that GP before getting rejected. So now what I'm seeing is what I want to see before playing this again. Ideally is I want to see if there's going to be a base such as this one. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I want to see a base on that support, the previous high resistance support. And if we do see that base, there is a high chance that we will see price action towards the GP again. So with that being said, with that being said, let me redo this. So there's only GP here. There we go. With that being said, let's see if there's going to be a base that's going to form here for the opportunity to go back up to the GP again. From a gold standpoint, not seeing real concern for the market yet, but today, tomorrow, day after, I want to see a rejection from this trend line. If we start breaking, really breaking bull, then there might be a little bit of concern for the market. Bitcoin broke GP. Congrats, Bitcoin bulls. So with this bounce from the 0.382, it was a sign that Bitcoin will touch GP regardless of the scenario. So from the bounce of 0.382 went straight to the GP, and slight rejection, and now we're broken over the GP. Now what we're looking at is potential of 0.786, which is right at the bottom of the key zone. I would anticipate a rejection at the 0.786. So with this, held the GP, bounced up to key zone, came back down 0.382, strong sign of bulls, and now we've broken over the GP. If you're looking for sells, or if you're in bull, I would at the very minimal sell half at the 0.786, which is around 53,000. Resistance wise, that makes sense. And if you're not in bulls, you're looking to play bears, this would be an amazing top fish area. 0.786, 53,000. And if we start rejecting from there, then we will determine what the fib looks like and whether, let's run an example scenario. GP doesn't really line up. 0.786 does. There is a chance that we could start rejecting from here too. So say if today is the top, for example, there is a resistance support right here, which means today could be the top. Rejection. If it is, if today is the top, the GP does line up with the top of the key zone that's been serving as resistance. Rejection, rejection, rejection again. Rejection from back here too. So keep an eye on Bitcoin. Anticipation would be to go up above to the 0.786. It's also not showing any sign for red flags for the market. All right, that's it for the market. Let's take a look at some individual tickers. Actually, before we go into individual tickers, forgot about HIVE. So HIVE, we took a look at this already. Broke, immediate backtest, and to the 1-to-1 extension target, and rejection. So 1-to-1 extension target rejected. Now from there, we revisited the key zone. Not really a fan of where we're bouncing from. I guess it could be a... This could be a key level. Resistance, support, support, support again, support again. So that's 4 supports, another rejection, another support before gap. Well, not really a support here. Support here again. So 3.36 on HIVE is a very notable key price. We're going to need to see a break over 4.24 in order to continue the daily uptrend. Because they're both Friday and today are red candles, bearish price action. Today being a dark cloud cover as well. There is a chance that this could be the lower high, and then the trend reverses back down. So if that is the case, the must hold that you want to see is 3.36. Yeah. Next is NVDA. New all-time high break with momentum. So congrats NVIDIA bulls. We saw this coming on Friday. This is previous all-time high 208.75, decreasing bull volume, but there's no real concern. Today is a gap and run. Friday was a gap and run on decent bull volume, matching Thursdays, nearly matching Thursdays. So that was a sign that NVIDIA was going to see new all-time high. Dividend is coming up. Earnings is already in the past. Dividend is coming up on August 31st. Ex-dividend date. Payment date is September 23rd. Anticipation would be continuation on NVIDIA. If I were to run a 1-to-1 fib extension on this, this is going to look pretty crazy. So 298. Now, I would not anticipate it to run just a straight shot there. Oh no, 1-to-1 extension is 252. What I'd be looking at first would be the GP on, which we don't use too often, the GP on fib extension. Would be looking at around 225 for some sort of reaction, psychological resistance as well. We're near that 220 already. 3 cents from it, almost broke it today. But 225, let's see if there's going to be a reaction there. Aside from that, let's take a look at this. Okay, so this one doesn't really work. There's a potential that there's a lower trend line over here. And because this dip was immediately bought up, we don't draw it to the lower end of that part. And if we were to draw it to the low, so we see a close near there with a wick over there as well, this might make sense for a lower trend line. Short-term lower trend line. Long-term upper trend line. Looks like we're breaking above it. Continued bull momentum. There's no daily bear divergence, no real cause for concern on NVDA. If you're in bullish, continue to hold until you see a sign of reversal, whether that's going to be on 30-minute. Use that's the way it stands right now, 15-minute 8 algo all day today. Slight close under twice. But the easy ADMA to use as your guide, the way it stands right now. I would personally use 30 minutes, even though we did see a close under at the beginning of this run. Ever since the follow through on Friday, 20th, yeah, Friday, we have not seen a close under the 30-minute 8 yet. So Friday run, today's run, 30-minute 8 is your short-term guide. And next is Apple. So on Apple, there's a very notable lower trend line, very notable upper trend line that we rejected from again, and now we're moving towards it again. 1-to-1 extension target based on this last low to the high, the split high to the higher low. 1-to-1 extension target at 152, and then after that, based on this low to the new high of 145 to the higher low of 116, target is at 158. So the chart is strong. It is a weekly bull pennant, bull divergence, bull pennant, bull flag. Doesn't really look like a flag to me. You could argue it's a very strong flag that's trending upwards kind of thing, but yeah. Looking at this chart, there's no reason to sell. Weekly 8 would be the guide. If you were to see a close under weekly 8, that would be the definite exit sign. No real cause for concern on Apple. Right, next is Tesla. I think it's bullish day today, yeah. Tesla, amazing dip buying. So we saw another move 3 days over the market consolidation days, or was earlier. Before the market started consolidating, Tesla started consolidating first. It was a slight red flag here, double top, triple top, unable to close over. And then bear pressure started coming in. Next day was gap down, sell off, and then the day after was gap down, sell off, plus a bounce at 0.786. Now this double lower trend line here, the lower trend line is a shorter term trend line that must hold. And then the longer term trend line is ideally we do not want to see a close under with follow through. So far we closed under once, twice without follow through. Yeah, twice without follow through. We want to hold this middle trend line here, and the must hold is the shorter term trend line right here. From there we saw a bounce at 0.786, just below that must hold trend line. It's been an amazing buy opportunity. Got an entry in at 649.12, I believe. Is only like under $1 difference. Nearly nailed that bottom. Amazing entry. From there we have seen follow through and slight rejection inside bar, and then now today we saw continue follow through. So the target remains at 774 based on the 1-to-1 extension target of the low to the high to the higher low, which would line up with the top of the key zone, 774, 780, roughly around there. There is going to be, I would anticipate a slower move just because of the way it lines up with this upper trend line. So from here, potentially rejection again, and 0.382, so it's roughly here before a next leg move up somewhere around there. 88. Yeah, this would make sense. Something like this. All right, next is Roku. Did not touch the money line. Oh, yeah, did not touch the money line from that we were watching, where it bounced once, 2, 3, small bounce here, 4, the big bounce, 5, the big bounce again. Not as big as this one, but still. 5 bounces, the money line. We were anticipating, we were watching for that touch on this money line again, but it did not happen. Did we miss something? It could be here. That would still work. Nope, did not happen. Can't draw any higher. Yeah, I can't draw any higher, so it's just a miss. Straight bounce from GP. Weak bounce so far, increasing bull volume slightly. Still rejecting from the 88. Bull's gonna need to see follow through tomorrow, breaking over that resistance of 363 and closing above the 88. Or else there is a very likely possible scenario if we're to reject from 88 and the resistance again, what you could see is a new low, potentially forming a bull divergence on the daily. Then that would be the real money bounce. Potential for that would be a very ideal entry if we're to revisit right here, which would be just lower than this in confluence with the trend line, the money line. All right, keep your eyes on Roku over the next 2 to 3 days. If we see rejection, anticipate an entry right over here. Low end of GP, 339.11, just under 340, in confluence with the money line. Okay, next, PLTR. I want to take a quick look at PLTR. Okay, all right. So for a few more tickers, PLTR looking amazing for that follow through. We did close under the 88. It was a slight concern. Did not make a new low. Decreasing bear volume. Today's bull volume is not significant, but we did see some decent price action. We are still holding that previous upper trend line of the upper trend line of the previous channel. From here, we are seeing, gonna need to see follow through tomorrow. Ideally, you want to see 2 days of follow through, breaking over this resistance of 25.75. But the chart looks great. RSI's cooled off slightly. Daily looks like it's ready to run. 30-minute gap up. was never overbought. Already wasn't overbought. 15 was slightly overbought. Almost. Okay, yeah, so the chart's cooled off. It's ready to go. 1-to-1 extension target shows $31. But first, we're going to need to close over this 25.75, followed by 27.50. Those are the two big resistances before seeing a 1-to-1 extension target of 31 being realized. All right, next is U. So U is a very textbook, amazing, easy entry, easy trade so far. It's in an upper trend. It's in the upward trend, bullish price action, higher low, higher high, depending on how you look at it. Now this could be a wave 1 and 2, and then 3 is coming. So the way I look at this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's going to be a 5. And if I'm looking at this, it's in an uptrend. It backtested this previous resistance 115. Did it get to 114? Okay, it didn't get to here. But I backtested this most recent previous resistance 115.50, and that was the perfect entry for those of you that played it. I did share this in the chat room as well. Hopefully someone picked it up. 115.50, amazing entry, and from there we are seeing follow through. Today's volume is not that decent. Tomorrow, if we are seeing low volume day again, would anticipate a potential for rejection at this previous high, 129, 130. If we're to reject from 130, that's a cause for concern, because there's going to be a daily bear divergence as well. All right, next is hood. Oh, we haven't looked at hood for some time. Squeeze and just continue selling off. Doesn't look anything interesting. If anything, I would anticipate a revisit of the IPO price before it bounced to begin again. So looking at $38, there's no real price targets or anything on this because it is still in IPO mode. Lost GP very easily. Would not be touching this unless it reaches 38. Then we can take a look. All right, next is ABNBs. Airbnb is actually looking really nice. Keep your eyes on Airbnb. Do not take your eyes off of it. So this move, we didn't nail the bottom on this one. We bought it on the second day, and it's been an amazing move upwards to that key resistance of 152.70 so far. We closed over at 152.76. But then next day was a gap down, slight sell off, and then the day after was another gap down, sell off. So from here, if this is the higher low, and so far it's looking like it is, this is the higher low, it's bouncing from 0.5. The chart is really strong. It is on increasing bull volume, lack of sellers, looking like lack of sellers to me. From here, if we're to break the 152.70, I would anticipate a bounce from 0.5 fib to this GP, reverse GP of this last dip of 162.78, 164.50, which lines up with the lower part of the next key zone. So watch for a break of 152. Even if you were to enter, if you're not in yet, you wait for the break, a close above, you're still looking at, come on, you're still looking at 7%. Still relatively decent, depending on how you play it, of course. If you play options, that in itself can be another 100% gain. Amazing play, daily bull divergence that really played out. Right, next, and leave this one at the last one. Yeah, let's take a look at this one. Reopening stocks are bouncing today, so keep an eye on them. Reopening stocks such as Marriott, AAPL, American Airlines, Boeing, Airbnb, Royal Cruise Line. Why is this so big? Carnival Cruise Line, things like that. So keep an eye out for reopening stocks. This is an amazing trade. MAR looking like a very nice potential. It is on slight increasing bull volume, closing over the daily 8, double bottom around 127. So it looks like we have to redraw this zone. No, doesn't make sense to redraw it. Looking at this chart is not that clean. It doesn't look that clean. It doesn't respect the zones to the dot as we're used to. So just understand that this stock does not respect key zones to the penny, to at least, less than a percent kind of thing. Understand that before you place a trade on it. So with this, we are seeing double bottom bounce right at that money line, right at the money line resistance right now. So last time, one bounce, two bounce, really nice bounce, did not touch the money line. So we are at the money line again. There is a chance for this to go to see some really great return. So first of all, we're going to be looking at the GP. Which would line up with the resistance support. If we were to draw it. Yeah, this makes sense. So support, didn't close under, support again, bounce next day. And did nothing here, but then it became resistance again, two more days in here. Resistance here too. So 142.15 would be the target, lining up with GP. Before that happens, I would anticipate watch for a bounce or watch for a reaction around 0.382, which coincidentally lines up with the top of the key zone. All right, so that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you know anyone that can benefit from our videos or the content that we provide, please do consider sharing our channel with them. Happy to help. If you have any ticker requests, any tickers that you would like reviewed, leave a comment down below. Or if you would like to try out the trial for our chat room, make sure to visit totalcontroltraders.com. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.